Okay, here we go. So today's session is actually coming from something that you had recommended, through the survey, and uh, and and the the topic is about physical manifestation of so how so when you have any physical disease or any physical uh, thing that you're dealing with, what can we do through a inner journey, self-discovery. And when I looked at the topic, it became clear that it's not something we can do in one session, so we'll actually break it into two. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So what we are going to do today is to understand some of the common characteristics that are at the root of illnesses. Again, these are based on experiences and people that have spent lifetimes on uh, on the subject. And also, I had a chance to work with Gabor Mate, so there's some beautiful insight which comes from him. He spent almost 40 years on this subject, so he knows this so well. And and the idea is how can you do your self-discovery? And so we could go into that. And what I'm going to do is a combination of IFS and compassionate inquiry, a bit in between, and sound healing. And then we will go into Q&A, and because the subject is specific, so you can ask questions, and we can also look at your individual needs at the end, okay? Because we are doing it all together. So here we go. So, uh, so from the research and from what I have understood, and also working with people, because I've did a lot of work, uh, I have about more than 13,000 people uh, uh, experience in sense of working with people not only with mental disease but also physical ones. And these are basically 5 things that I found, and also from research I looked at, that are come at the top of uh, common characteristics you find in when you're dealing with people with physical illnesses. So there is always something called chronic stress, which means people that are actually experiencing extreme stress, which then, of course, gets into physical illness. The factors are wide because stress is something that could come from family issues, it could come from work related issues, it could come from financial issues and others. But chronic stress sits at the center of uh, everyone. I did not find one person which was not dealing with that. Uh, there's a lot of repressed emotions, which means people that so people that actually suppress their emotional outburst, like anger, especially, or fear or sadness. They basically look at them expression of emotions as something which is not good, and then it becomes chronic, which means it then starts to get into the system. So there's a lot of suppression of emotions. Uh, Definitely, childhood trauma sits at the base of everything. My own personal experience of my life has roots into childhood trauma. For me, it started at the age of 5, 6, but I work with people that have much earlier. Uh, 2 days ago, I was working with somebody which was having trauma in the womb. So, so that's how as early, and she had the ability to recall everything that happened. Uh, Low self-esteem, so individual with who basically, and the term that Gabor Mate, and I will come to that later, is that no ego, which means they basically literally dissolve their egos, and then they have very low self-esteem. They become susceptible to for physical illnesses because low self-esteem means they also do a lot of negative self-talk, self-criticism, which is again a learned behavior. It's not something that they want to do. This is something that basically they are trained at a very early age, especially with parents or with caretakers. And then the last one was, which is absolutely always there, which is lack of boundaries, which means where the person has the sense that there is basically somebody can walk over me literally, and I am unable to set boundaries, and hence basically people. So bullying is typically narcissism, bullying, etc. This comes here. It's where there was no boundary, and hence somebody could actually run over you, and that then turns into chronic stress, and that results into diseases. So those are the few things that I found uh, in our work. So again, it's not easy to uh, say, well, this causes that. Although Gabor Mate in his research becomes very specific. So Gabor came with these three things. He said there are three key behaviors that, according to him, brings physical illnesses. Okay, one is an automatic program to take care of others which means when you're always taking care of others needs instead of yourselves. So you put others first before yourself, which means even to the expense of yourself. And the core belief is that you are responsible for others, and because you don't want to disappoint anyone, but you can disappoint yourself. That's okay. And of course this then they experience high stress level because they are caretaking for the world, others, which can bring in health issues. And according to his work, he says cardiovascular diseases, digestive disease, and mental issues. There's a lot of burnout, especially in caregiving professionals. And then there is also addictions to substance. So this is what he found with people that have basically an automatic program that they care for others, that I have to care for others. The second thing he found is has no ego, which is the ego is blended into the environment, which is people who take care of others' opinion about themselves. So they may lack a strong sense of self or rely heavily on external validation to define their sense of identity. So if you tell me who I am, I accept it. Otherwise, I don't have self-worth, which means if you change the way you look at me, I also follow that. And he says that there's a lot of depression there, anxiety, heart issues, and also suppressed immune system. And he was very specific about examples of puts a lot of pressure on intestines. The last one for him, which was probably one of the biggest one, is there's no place for healthy anger, which means basically you suppress getting angry. And healthy anger is actually there to protect you. If you do not know how to get angry, how will you be able to protect yourself? And so when anger is suppressed, this turns into what is called bad anger. And then it actually turns against you. And he gives a lot of examples of autoimmune disorders, arthritis, multiple sclerosis, uh, may be linked to healthy anger being suppressed, chronic pain, digestive issues, and also he talks about addictions. Uh, when anger gets suppressed to numb the pain, you can get into addiction to substances or to alcohol, which is it's a way to avoid confronting the anger, because anger is there, but it gets suppressed. So that was very, very beautiful and interesting from what he gave. And what he did is he gave examples of each of them. Now, now let's talk about going why the inner self-discovery is so important. So we know that mind, and I think everybody probably is aware, you're all in the call, you know this so well, that mind and body are not separate, it's one thing. And as we live our life, we develop different internal systems, which means beliefs and emotions that are interconnected. And in IFS term, we call them parts. So as you move on into life, you have experiences. These experiences lead to have beliefs and emotions that are very interconnected, and we call them parts uh, in the IFS language. Now, if you let in what is nurturing and keep out what is not healthy, this is what emotion does to you. So, like the immune system is actually there not to attack, it's to actually attack a virus. So, you need an immune system so that you can protect yourself from virus. And your emotional system does exactly the same job. Anger, and that's an example which is there. What is the role of a healthy anger? To keep the person out of danger. Now, when you suppress anger, it turns into bad anger, and that actually starts to turn against you, and hence you increase the risk of autoimmune and other kind of diseases. So it's a very good example. So if there is a process that affects your health, what if you can detach from the illness and understand the process and use it as a way to heal yourself and hence the illness? So which means if you so because today when you come to it, when you look at an illness, you look at illness as something not good. But you most of us do not look at illness as something that has been caused by a process. And if you go and start to understand the process and what is underlying beliefs and emotions that are there, then you may start to heal yourself from the illness itself. So focusing, instead of focusing on illness, if you can focus on the underlying emotional systems or beliefs and emotions, then you may start to have a, a path to recovery. And this is, in all my practice, this is what I've done. This is, I think, what anybody that you come to Geber Mate, I mean, this is what people that are dealing with emotional systems of rediscovery, this is what they will tell you. Because what they say is that, and there is something that I've also experienced, there is a wisdom in trauma. But how do you discover that wisdom? Only when you look at what happened from a very different place. And every difficult situation has a wisdom attached to it. And the inner self-discovery is to explore that wisdom, but from a place of wholeness and worthiness for self. And this is what IFS, well, thank you for the reply, internal family system. The whole approach of IFS is to look at all aspects of you, including suppressed anger, for example, but from a place of love and from a place of wholeness, okay, which is why we do it in that way. So what we are going to do as we are here, I'm going to use this example, these three stories from Gaber, as a way to go into to give you an insight into your own story. Okay. And for a moment, if you're having illness or if you're dealing with an illness, if you can for a moment put it aside, okay, and look at these three things, okay. So take a moment and there are these three emotions or three stories, which is always take care of others' need, no ego, and suppress healthy anger. So uh, look at these 6 questions and see what comes up for you. So let's see, always take care of others' need. Okay. So how do you know if you're always doing that? So are you always taking care of other needs instead of yourself? Which means you do not want to disappoint anyone. And if it is the case, what emotions or thoughts come up when you engage, when you try to engage in self-care? Is there guilt? So think about yourself. Are you someone that is always engaged in care for other needs over yourselves because you don't want to disappoint anyone? And if you do, what are the emotions that come up when you try to take care of yourself? Do you feel guilty or others? Any other feeling? For the second one, do you often rely on external validation to define who you are as a person, as a professional? And do you tend to rely on others to validate your worth? If yes, in what condition and with who? And suppress healthy anger. Do you often find yourself holding back and suppressing your anger? What are the specific situations or type of people that tend to bring out your anger? So see if you can just settle in. You answered that question for yourself. Just stay within that awareness. And we are going to go deep inside, find what comes up for you. So just settle in. See what is needed by your body to be comfortable, to be soft. And notice your breath. You can open your eye, keep your eyes open, you can close your eyes as you feel comfortable. And notice your breath moving in and out of your heart. Allow the breath to become slower and deeper with an easy, comfortable rhythm that is effortless. And as you breathe effortlessly, can you inform your system that it is working in your leadership effortlessly? Now imagine a door in your mind. Visualize yourself walking through this door and entering into your inner world. This is the place where all different aspects of yourself exist. And you welcome all parts of you. Take a moment to invite everyone in. Now let's bring forward a resource. This can be a person, an experience, or a feeling that brings you a sense of comfort and support. It can be a person, can be an experience, or a place that brings you a feeling of comfort and support. Imagine that resource is with you now and allow yourself to feel its presence. Take a deep breath slowly, deeply, and allow yourself to fully embody the feeling of comfort and support from your resource. Now let's start to bring in the part of you that came up struggling with anger, suppression of anger, what you wrote. Just think about it, what you noticed. Just think about it. As you think about it, notice where do you feel it in or around your body. And see if you can give it a name. And if you want, you can note down the name when it comes up, whatever name you want to give it. Notice where you feel it in or around your body, and notice the name that you've given. And notice, how do you feel towards it? What kind of feeling have you got? See if you can bring in compassion or at least curiosity towards this part of you. So just become curious. As we are going to ask this part questions, and it may have some interesting answers for you. So just be curious. And if it becomes difficult to be curious, just breathe into this part of your body wherever you feel it. Now let's start by asking this part, what does it want and need from you? Just listen to what it has to say. What does it want and need from you? And notice, how do you feel towards it now? See if you can continue to be curious. And now ask it, what is it afraid would happen to you? Ask it, what are your fears about me? For me. So it told you what it is trying to protect you from. And see if you can ask it, if that happens, then what will happen? And see what it tells you. Notice, how do you feel towards this part? And see if you can become a bit compassionate towards it, because it's trying to protect you from all of that, what it said is afraid would happen to you. Now ask a question, since when are you doing this for me? Or how old was I when you started doing this? And see if it tells you an age. Or even points you towards younger version of you. Ask it, what was going on at that time that made you appear? It may show you the younger version of you going through an experience. So see if you can show you that. And you can always ask it not to overwhelm you, because you are here to help heal. Notice how do you feel towards it now. You may have some feeling of sadness or guilt or even anger or disappointment or compassion for this little one. So see if you can focus on being compassionate towards it. Now let's bring in a resource part that can support and empower this part of you. Can you imagine this resource standing beside this part and offering comfort, strength, and encouragement? And now ask and take note of the answer. So ask the question, what needs to happen for you to be less present and be relaxed? So you're asking this question to the part. What needs to happen for you to be relaxed? So you may hear some conditions, some things that needs to happen. Just take note of them. Now ask to this part if it would like to heal something or heal the younger one of you and free it up from any pain or suffering, or bring it to a safe place. If you hear an answer yes, then let it know that you will come back in the following days and you will work to heal this little younger you with an exercise that you will have access to. Let it know. Now thank it. And notice, how do you feel towards it now? This is a part which is linked to suppression or anger. So notice, how do you feel towards it now? So you can check in with the sensation. And let it know that you're going to be in contact every day. Now there are other parts that would have come in because we invited them all. Now take a moment to share with all your parts your vision of life. What do you want from in life for you? And see if you hear any of them saying anything to you. And acknowledge it. And now that you're connected to this part, and you may work to heal the younger one, it's important that you come back through daily meditation or connection with them and let them know that you will connect with them daily for a few days and work with anything that may need to be healed. You can slowly and gently begin to come back and open your eyes. And now take a few moments to write whatever may have come up while we prepare for the tuning forks. Sound. So we will start with the tuning fork. And the way the tuning forks works is that we are going to open two channels. So there's a channel above your head. So if you follow chakra system, so you have these 7 chakras, but there is a channel on the top of the head and below your feet that is the entry point to your torus. You see the picture here, okay? And so in a sound healing, what we do is we first open the center below the feet, which is the connection to the Mother Earth. And then there's a center on top of the head, which is a connection to divine. So we open that and we open the channel, which is through all the centers of in your body. So through your backbone. So that's the first thing we'll do. And then based on what you have been working now, whatever comes up to be released, we will release it. So you will hear me do 2 things. One is breathing. So take a breath in with your nose and then breathe out from your mouth. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So you will hear me Do that. And then you will hear the sound. And in between, I will also bring to your awareness what I feel in terms of, well, you are a 5-year-old, you're a 7-year-old, you're 14-year-old. And if there is anything that comes up into your awareness, or something like what happened to you or what you experienced, just bring it up and just breathe with me, and we will release it through the sound. Okay? So it will help in the process that you already started. Okay, so here we go. So just, you can lie down, you can sit, relax, and we're just going to begin. So I'm going to start with the center below your feet. Open it up, go to the top of your head, and then one of the 7 centers, whichever will come up as priority, is where we will work. I will let you know which center we're working with, whether it's a heart or throat or the third eye, whichever one it is. Okay, and accordingly, I will start from in that center from your birth, and then I will going up to the present moment. I'll tell you an age, and whatever happened, you release. Okay, here we go. So take a deep breath. And we start at the bottom of your feet. Take a breath. So now I'm below your feet and I'm opening a channel to I'm going through your backbone to the top of your head, opening that channel. Okay, so I'm now going to go to the top of the head and open that channel. Take a breath in. Okay, so now I'm running a pendulum through all your centers. So we start from the root and the first center, second center, third center, the heart center. Okay, so when it comes to heart center, this is where it wants to work today. So this is a lot about losses and sadness. Okay, so we'll start from your birth, actually when you're in the mother's womb, and come up to the present moment. Okay, so I'm going to start when you're in the mother's womb. So there's a lot of anxiety, fear. So see if for someone makes sense. Being in mother's womb feels anxious. So connect to that anxiety and just breathe. So it's moved on. I'm at your birth now. There's a lot of pressure on the head. So if something around your father is coming up, this is your birth time, just bring it up. Father or authority figure, can be divine, can be somebody. And it's going into throat, so if you want to speak out loud or even exhale like do that. Just release. Just release. Okay, so that helped. So I'm moving on. Yeah. So it's a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, between 5 and 6. A lot of sadness, loss. Either it's a loss of a loved one, or there's a loss. And it's a lot of sadness coming in your chest, in the heart. So he's asking me to release using another tuning fork. So I'm going to switch to another tuning fork to release. There's a lot of heavy sadness there. So you don't hear it. So just breathe. Okay, so that got cleared. It feels light in the heart. Oh, absolutely clear. I think 2 years ago, it was a repeat of a loss. So something happened again. Not necessarily loss, but sadness. Which is still affecting you present moment. And now let's bring up the topic of the suppressed anger. So whatever part came up to you, just breathe into that and send it sound. So I'm sending with the other tuning fork. Just breathe. So now I'm in your mother zone. So I'm in a zone where the vibration of what your mother went through in her life, which is affecting your life, is there. So a lot of turbulence. So take a breath and send love to your mother. Blessing. Even in the most difficult things that you went through or she went through, there's a lesson and there's love. So in the lessons that you went through, the most difficult time with her, there's something there for you. Love. So if there's an anger coming up, just send breath into that area. Okay, so now I'm in the center of your chest, above your heart. And everything and anything that needs to be released is going to be released now. What have you been working on? So take a deep breath and let it go. Okay, so we are going to secure whatever has happened to continue to process in your system for next 72 hours. And surround you in a cocoon of 520 hertz.